Breakthrough Task Force, and I welcome you here tonight. The Breakthrough Task Force has been in existence for just a little over a year, and issues of substance abuse on our mountain. I'm thrilled to have good turnout here tonight. I'm thrilled with our friends and partners that have joined us from off the mountain as well as on the mountain. And I'd like to recognize a few people as the Breakthrough Task Force joined together with the RIM Youth Prevention Leadership Coalition. And our coalitions came together and we decided that we were going to meet with law enforcement, find out what they were doing and what some of the loopholes were that maybe were not catching those things that needed to be caught in the way of controlling substance use and abuse in our area. And when we did this, we met with law enforcement and we came up with one of the solutions being a social host ordinance, which holds an adult responsible if they provide a place for alcohol to be consumed by minors. There are other laws that go into effect if underage is found drinking in different places, but nothing that specifically holds the host of a party responsible. So we've been looking at different issues, and we've been looking at this issue. One of the things that we've brought to the table when we've been looking at this is we've incorporated some young members into our coalitions, and I'm so thrilled with that. I'd like to have our young members stand tonight so you can see that we have teens that are interested in changing some of the ways we look at underage drinking. And that really encourages me, knowing that they're looking to the future just as we are looking to the future, and they're using wise wisdom to make good choices. And if that can affect their peers, then we're doing the right job. Anyway, we have with us tonight, at the back of the room, our keynote speaker. I wanted to welcome Neil Derry. And I wanted to share how supportive our supervisor is in the work that we're doing. We got a call just a few days ago. Well, just stand because you're going to be introduced. We worked on a social host ordinance, and when I say we, there's some prevention providers here that we joined together with, and with Colleen at the RIM Youth Prevention Leadership Coalition, and put together an ordinance that we presented to actually Supervisor Council, County Council. Was all in keeping with everything that is legal. All the legal aspects were covered. Our ordinance would be at the Board of Supervisors today. So today we spent most of our day, even though we had a forum we were putting on, we were in San Bernardino, and Supervisor Derry presented our ordinance, and it was accepted. It was, for the first reading, it was unanimously approved. So the supervisor has some words for us, and I'd love to introduce him and just show our appreciation for his support.
Your lighting is horrible.
I've learned from being in politics and government for over 20 years in the private sector and in the public sector that it's good to cooperate with the media because they're the people that help you communicate with your constituents. Because if they don't get the story right, then you don't get the story right, and then I get in trouble, and then it starts this big ring, big circle, and we're all chasing our tails trying to get it fixed. So I want to say thank you to you folks for the leadership here, because you brought this to our attention as a need for the mountain communities and for the county as a whole. And it's leadership like that we need from our local communities. If you don't bring issues to your elected leaders and allow them to act on it, we don't get much accomplished. So I want to thank you. You all, everybody in this room deserves a big hand. So give yourselves a big hand more than others. You really did the work, and I want to thank you for that. I think that the social hosting ordinance is going to be a step in the right direction for our communities. We know we've got issues up here in the mountain. We have issues all throughout the county with underage drinking, and we think that this will be a tool to help us work through these issues with law enforcement, with social service providers, to really cut down on underage drinking, particularly in the binge drinking and other things that have affected families' lives. And this is a great opportunity to work together, and I'm always looking for those opportunities to coordinate with you folks, because I want to do a good job for you, and I can only do that if I'm working with you, and we're working together. So congratulations. It was really a no-brainer once it was presented to my office, to me, that, hey, the community would like this, they think it's an important issue, and I said, absolutely, we're on board. And that's the kind of cooperation that the Board of Supervisors of the county really needs to bring to the table on every issue, whether it be coordinating with the city of Big Bear Lake on the Amgen tour, which we sponsored as well, or the new zoo location, or the other things that we've been working on just in my first 17 months in office. So I will let the experts talk. I want to thank you for welcoming me here. I want to thank you for the opportunity to serve as your county supervisor. It has been an interesting 17 months, and that's all it's been. And I put 38,000 miles on my county vehicle so far, but I've got a big district. I go all the way out to Joshua Tree. I've got most of the mountain communities. I have the East Valley down below. And it's, by the way, the most beautiful district in the county. Yeah, you guys just saw, if you watched the Amgen tour on television and saw how just spectacular it was, we live in this community. It's a fantastic place to live and raise a family. And we want to make sure it's even better in the future. And we want to provide economic opportunities and job opportunities so our young people can actually stay and live on the mountain after they get their education, come back after they finish college, start a career here and live close to home. With that, God bless you all for the work you've done. I think we're going to make a lot of progress on this issue in the coming years. I want to thank our sheriff's captain, Greg Garland, because he really helped bring this through his wife, who's also my field rep, Jamie Garland, helped bring this to my attention, to help communicate issues in the community to me directly when I'm not out here talking to you myself. So thank you again. God bless you for the work you're doing, and let's get to work on this and make it happen. We've got one more reading. It'll be June 15th, and once it passes that, it becomes law and we can start enforcing it. So great progress, and thank you for making me a part of it. Thank you.
The other things that was accomplished in the past year by the forming of our coalition and law enforcement was, and I had it on the screen, but I've shut that down because we don't need to be looking at it now, but we did institute, you're probably familiar with the We Tip hotline, and there is a nationwide, there's countywide We Tip hotline, and now we have a local Big Bear We Tip hotline, and that's for tipping off law enforcement if there's something they need to know about that it could happen, or a problematic area in the town, something that you think they need to know. It's an anonymous number. The number is, I'll give you the number first, and then it is 866-0174. It rings at our local sheriff's station. You can leave an anonymous tip. It does not have caller ID attached to it, so you can leave whatever wording, and we try to get the word out because people sometimes don't want to call because they don't want to be the person to leave the message, but this is a safe way to do that, safe way to get communication with law enforcement so that they can be aware of any problems that are through in our valley. So anyway, I leave that with you, and I would hope that all of you that can take advantage of that would spread that word so that people know if there is something that needs to be reported. That's a simple way to do it, and they do pick it up at their office here. And that was done just, I think that went into effect January, February. And I know that, Pauline, if you want to come up, I know that RIM is also looking for a We Tip line that's local in that area as well. So they're hoping to get that instituted at the same time. So with that, I'd like to introduce Colleen Myers again and present her. She will be heading the panel discussion that we'll be going into at this time.
Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, Supervisor Derry. We're going to move into our panel discussion, and after each panelist has a chance to speak, we'll have time for questions and answers. I'd first like to introduce Dan Skiles, who has a brief presentation for us. Mr. Skiles has a master's degree in clinical psychology and over 20 years of experience working with substance abuse-related issues.
down. Not the time for the equipment to break down.
Only for you, Dan.
I'm good. Daniel Scott with the Institute for Public Strategies, and I'm here to talk a little bit more about the social host ordinance. And even though we have had this ordinance get passed, at least for the first reading, there's a lot we all need to get educated on, and so I'm going to provide a little information, a little background for people to get some details on what this ordinance actually is. First of all, there's been some question from time to time about why do you call it a social host ordinance? And really it has to do with social availability versus retail availability. When you talk about underage youth buying alcohol from a retail outlet like a bar or a club or a market or convenience store, that's retail availability. Social availability refers to availability in these situations you see here. And you may, by looking at the bullet points on the left side of the slide, see some of the situations that occur up here in the mountain regions. Like we hear you have tourist season up here, and you have some parties that relate to ski season where alcohol is available. That would be one of those types of situations where underage youth can access alcohol. Graduation parties, smaller house parties, public events such as picnics or in the forest. Alcohol that's obtained through older friends, siblings, parents, or strangers. So that's essentially what we're talking about, alcohol availability in social situations. Why do we care about alcohol, first of all? There's a lot of other drugs out there. People ask that question too, and so what I wanted to present was a little bit of information to put this in context. Alcohol is the most abused drug, and you can see, these are data, and you can see that this is current alcohol use past 30 days, Healthy Kids survey that's given to all the students in high school and middle school in California. And you can see the percentage of students who use alcohol versus the other most popular drugs, marijuana and tobacco, which are kind of running neck and neck. We are interested in these drugs, but alcohol is really the most abused drug, as you can see, so that's why we're interested in that. Impact of binge and underage drinking. Most people are aware that driving under the influence and automobile crashes are a big problem with binge and underage drinking. But sometimes people won't think about these other things that are also associated with these other short-term impacts of underage drinking. And you can see by looking at these, there are impacts on the individual who's drinking, as well as impacts on the community where the drinking takes place. Neighborhood vandalism and violent crimes. And sometimes parents or adults thinking that they can control these and prevent these will host a party in a house, take the keys away, and say, well, we're not going to have any drinking and driving, we'll supply the alcohol and everybody will be safe. And that's where the mistaken belief comes in, because these things don't always work out. And even if you were able to control all these things and make sure none of these short-term impacts took place, we have the long-term drinking problem. The data showing us that the earlier a youth is exposed to alcohol, the greater problems they have later in life with drinking problems. And I see Rusty nodding his head here from our treatment programs that have to deal with people throughout their lives, and it costs individuals and to their productivity throughout their life is really harming. You can see here that if you start drinking before the age 15, you are 4 times as likely to have a drinking problem later in life. And this is national data. And other data from the county show that the typical age of first exposure to alcohol here in San Diego County is about 12 years old. That's when kids have their first drinks. So where are kids getting alcohol? And the answer is house parties. This is from Place of Last Drink data. This happens to be, anytime somebody gets arrested, gets stopped for drinking and driving, whether it be a crash or just an arrest because of enforcement. They have to go to a DUI school and take a survey and let us know where they have their last drink. And from that survey, we find out that most youth, 73%, had their last drink at a private residence, you can see, where only 17% had it at a bar and club. I know others have said this before, but it's a good idea to look at the data and see the verification for this. Adults are pretty well split between private property and commercial sources of alcohol. But 73% of youth are drinking on private property, and a good half of those say that it was a house party. The data here in Big Bear support that. This is county data. This is the data Bonnie's group took up here of the youth. And you can see by the longer bars on the graph that situations in house parties, at home, parties, events outside school, from adults or at a friend's home, those are the ones that youth cited as where they're getting their alcohol most often. So that's what's behind the social host ordinance, that this is the venue where this is taking place. Let's see if we can put some resources into it. Also, the kids are saying it's easy to get. Alcohol is very easy to get. People are feeling as if it's kind of okay to provide alcohol in these settings. So that's one of the things we're hoping the social host ordinance will change. What will the social host ordinance do exactly? It will hold the party hosts responsible for providing alcohol to minors, for providing a place for young people to drink alcohol. There are state laws that say you can't provide alcohol to a minor, but it's difficult to prove who supplied the alcohol. Here, if you're hosting a party, if it's at your house, you're responsible. You have a duty to inspect and make sure that underage drinking doesn't take place if you're having a party. There will also, many ordinances like this make consumption of alcohol by youth illegal, and they can be ticketed by law enforcement for that. And it gives law enforcement an extra tool: criminal penalties, civil penalties, administrative fines. We don't want to put anyone in jail. We want people to stop the negative behavior. What the social host ordinance wouldn't change. It would not interfere with people's constitutional rights. We get this question a lot. Religious ceremonies, of course, some of those ceremonies do involve consumption of alcohol, and you have a constitutional right to provide alcohol in those situations in the pursuit of religious ceremonies. And a parent also, according to the California Constitution, has a right to determine how their children are introduced to alcohol. So you can have a glass of wine at dinner with your son or daughter at a time of your choosing to introduce them to alcohol if you so choose. It's just that the neighbor down the street doesn't have a right to do that to your child. So you have that right, and the social host ordinance does not interfere with that. Also, peaceful gatherings. This is enforcement is compliant driven. It only applies to unruly gatherings. Law enforcement doesn't have the right to come into your house and see if people might be drinking. It has to be a disturbance in the community and for law enforcement to take action. So in summary, it will do all these things. It will reduce the short-term impact, protect kids from the long-term problems, reduce disruptive behavior in the neighborhood and improve quality of life. And will also free up law enforcement resources to do other things, because what we find from other research is that law enforcement spends a lot of time on alcohol-related problems that they shouldn't have to spend time on. We do have...
Well, that's it from here. I have to talk low. The meeting is still going on. They're going to have a panel in a few moments. But this has been a community forum on underage drinking, sponsored by the Breakthrough Task Force. From the Discovery Center, that's it. Now stay tuned for these messages.